You're listening to a 58 Ember production.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Completely Fucking Clueless podcast. My name is Sarah Alice Liddy, and I use she, her pronouns. And I have my amazing partner here with me today. Babe, what's your name and what are your pronouns?
I'm Olivia, and I use he and they pronouns, please.
Slay. So I'm going to be very honest right now, brutally. I just started the podcast with Olivia, and 5 minutes in, I realized that I was not recording the actual audio. And this is why I need Audrey, because I simply do not handle these things.
Yeah, you're just the pretty face
I
in this enterprise.
I'm the pretty face. No, Audrey's a pretty face too.
Yeah, you're both pretty faces.
Thanks, babe.
Yours is pretty though.
I feel like I need to turn up your mic.
Yeah,
a
I feel
bit.
very quiet. I feel like I'm too
know.
quiet now.
Is this me? No, that one's
That's
me.
you.
Sorry, guys. We're gonna just show you guys this. All right, now speak into it.
Okay, is this better?
Yeah, that's so
Cool.
much better. See, I just need Audrey. Audrey, this is a message to you. I need you here because I don't know how to do this on my own. Anyways, we are in my childhood home in Westchester because even though I've moved to the city, I've literally come home twice, and I moved there 2 weeks ago, so once a week, mainly to see you, but we are in my living room, and that is why we are sitting on grandma's couch. It's very ugly. Sorry, Mom. I do not think this is cute. And it's not really the CFC aesthetic, but
No, the flowers are not really the vibe.
it's not. It's not the vibe. Stop.
No, it's not.
TikTok. Anyways, we wanted to bring you back because Audrey's single and living life, single ready to mingle, but we are in a committed relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think there's tons of other 20-somethings in committed relationships. And I think it's cool to get that perspective on the pod, you know? Oh, you know what? I want you to say this. You said it on the last time, but on the last time when I didn't press record, but how does it feel having your hair cut off?
Yeah, it feels good. It's annoying that it grows so quickly and I have to get it cut much more frequently.
Yeah.
And I also sweat a lot. We talked about that. It was a whole
Yes.
segment
Whole
that you missed.
Guys, I can't believe it. Like my brain right now is like, what am I doing? But we're getting it. We're pulling it together. We are pulling it together.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you guys will really enjoy all the conversations that we're going to have today because we almost
We
kind
had
of
them last night or 2 nights ago.
last
Yeah,
night.
last
No,
night.
two
No,
nights
2
ago.
nights.
2 nights
Yeah,
ago.
Thursday night.
Yeah, because we were planning out what we were going to talk about, and we just kind of get into in-depth conversations pretty easily. And before I knew it, I was like, why didn't I just set up the podcasting like equipment right now? Because we just like did the whole episode kind of, but it'll be good anyway.
Yeah. I mean, I'm excited to talk more about them. I feel like they were interesting. Topics.
Yeah. So let's not keep you guys waiting anymore. We'll get into it. Oh, but before we do get into it, do you have any clueless moments recently that you want to tell the people about? We haven't done Clueless Moments of the Week in a hot second.
The subway system, the New York City subway system is very confusing and I can't navigate it without Google Maps.
I can't either though, but I feel like most people can't, especially today when like.
I feel like people used to be able to.
Right, but now you have your phone. Right. So like, why would you?
But I don't want to have to rely on my phone. I want to it's just.
You want to be a New Yorker.
Yeah. I do.
New Yorker.
New Yorker.
I know. I hate the subway because it is just hot. Doesn't matter what time of year
It's air
it is.
conditioned though.
No, it's
They
not.
blast AC on some of those cars.
In the winter?
Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
Oh. Maybe.
It's still, I mean, there's still AC. Like there's still.
Oh, maybe I'm going in the wrong carts.
I think you're hot in the station.
Yeah.
And then you get in and it's like, and that's what makes you sweat so much.
Right.
Is like massive change in temperature.
Right. I hate that. I'm actually, you guys, so if you watch me on my personal social media, I carry around like a handheld fan with me everywhere because like Remy Bader kind of like normalized it. And I loved it. So I got one, but now I am getting a different one to bring with me. Amazon has this one that you like can wear around your neck, almost like a necklace, and it like blows air up. So I'm gonna try that and I'll let you guys know how I think about it, what I think about it. But that's a good Clueless moment.
Yeah.
Because you're taking the subway a lot more.
Yeah. So especially because I've been going to your apartment
Yeah.
after work.
Yeah.
And so I have to like transfer.
Yeah.
And so I'm just like, where am I? There's 2 stations that are called 50th Street, but they're 2 different stations and they don't connect.
Interesting.
and they're different like lines.
Yeah.
And so I got off at the 50th Street station. I'm like, oh, I have to go to the 50th Street station, and I walked like 10 minutes. Like it was very confusing. So that's probably my Clueless moment.
Yeah. Well, because does it say like on the outside? Usually it says like which
yeah.
lines.
So it's you go on I take the E out of from work, and I go to 50th Street, and then I have to leave that station and go to the 1.
Oh, because it's not
because it's a different station. So I have to, but they're both called 50th Street.
Interesting.
They're just on totally different blocks. I mean, I had to walk like 3 blocks.
Yeah.
And different lines.
Interesting.
It's very confusing.
Wow. Wow. My Clueless moment, I actually just thought about it because yesterday, the cool thing about, maybe not cool thing, but interesting thing about my building is the basement is so eclectic. They've like kind of taken things that people have left, which are a lot of like art pieces and mirrors, and they've hung it up in the basement. So I went and showed Olivia the other day because I was like, you need to see this.
Yeah, it was very cool.
It was
very cool. Yeah. A lot of weird mirrors.
Yes, a lot of weird. Like I wouldn't want to be there like when it's like dark.
Kind of spooky.
Yeah, like with no lights because it would be spooky. Like it kind of gives me like horror movie vibes. Yeah. But the laundry is also in the basement, and I haven't done laundry at my apartment complex yet. And I was like, oh, let's go see like how it would work. It is nearly $7 to do a load of laundry. Nearly $7 because so it is $2.25 to wash, to do the one load of wash, but then the dryers are $2 for 30 minutes. I'm like, what is this? Nobody is putting their clothes in the dryer for just 30 minutes.
No, it's not long enough.
So it's $4 to dry your clothes. What, do you want me to walk around in wet clothes? No, this is ridiculous. Like I called my parents this morning and I was like, it is almost $7 for me to wash my clothes here. So I hauled a huge thing of laundry and I'm doing it right now. I'm like, why am I going to pay for it if my parents are 20 minutes away and you're 20 minutes away?
Sure. I mean, that's because water and electricity are expensive.
It's just... Life is so expensive. As I get older, that is just like everything is so expensive. But like $7 to wash.
Yeah, that is kind of ridiculous. Yeah.
It's expensive. Like I feel like college, like because it was like $2 to do the wash. And I mean, this is in North Carolina, so things are a little bit cheaper in North Carolina. But it was $2 to wash and then $2 for an hour of dry. So it was only $4. Like that's not bad to me.
Sure. Yeah, the 30-minute thing is kind of excessive.
That pisses
like that's
me
annoying.
Off because nobody is just washing like a huge load of laundry for 30 minutes.
Yeah, I feel like it would usually be like you put $2 for like 45 minutes and then you can add another quarter for another like 15 minutes.
Was that at your...
I think that's what I had in Boston. Yeah. And that's reasonable. Like to me, that makes sense.
Yeah. It's crazy. But speaking of my apartment and my crazy laundry prices, I've moved out. And something that I have gotten a lot when I was talking with people about wanting to move out and go to the city and live in the city is, are you going to be living with your partner? That was like the first question people would ask me was it, like if they didn't know me intimately, was like, oh, are you going to be moving in with Olivia or your partner, da-da-da. And when I would respond no, people would be pretty shocked because I think it is like a common thing to start moving in with partners in your 20s. But we kind of wanted to talk with you guys about like my choice, how we navigated this together because like you were kind of like okay with moving in together.
Yeah, I mean, the way I see it, like, one, I mean, this has been a conversation that we've had many times across the 3 years that we've been together. So it wasn't like a surprise.
No, because I think from the beginning, like you know when you start dating somebody and it's like, let's talk about having babies together, and you've like known each other for 6 months,
which are important conversations, and you should be having those conversations relatively early. But
and I said like one thing that I really want is to be able to like move to the city, whether it's like on my own or like with a roommate that is not you, like to move out of my like childhood home, like without you for the first time.
Your Sex and the City moment.
Yes, I call it the
your Carrie Bradshaw moment.
Yeah, I mean, Carrie's like such a bad character.
I've never
but
seen
I call
it, so I don't know what it means, but
I call it my Sex in the City moment, which is funny because I'm not really going out and having sex in the city with anybody else besides you. But I just like kind of wanted that. I was mainly thinking of like in Sex in the City, Carrie Bradshaw has like her own apartment, and it's like her shoes are in her oven, you know, and she gets to have like full control over how it looks and and I was like, that is like what I want for my first moving experience, because I do think that like living with your significant other for the first time, like that's a huge like change. But yeah,
I mean, and I get that, and like I said, it didn't come as a surprise when you were like, hey, I want to move in with my friend, like that, you know, because that was something we've talked about a lot. And I think the other thing is, you know, I'm a little older than you. I was out of college like 2 years before you graduated.
Yeah.
So I had my Sex and the City moment. Like
Right.
I had a period of 3 years living by myself out of my parents' home.
Yeah.
And it didn't seem fair to be like, oh yeah, I can have it, but no, you can't.
Yeah.
You know?
So when I told you this, like, you weren't like offended at all, right?
No.
I know, but
maybe disappointed, but
Okay.
not offended. No.
Okay. So if somebody is trying, it's like with a partner and wants to move out, but doesn't like want to live with their partner, sort of like our situation, like how would we maybe advise them to go about the conversation? Like I'm thinking of like a situation, like what if a partner is like really upset about it, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I think my first advice is maybe don't take it so personally.
Yeah.
Because I think very often, more often than not, you know, assuming your significant other loves you and, you know, is nice, it's an eventual thing. Like it makes sense, but maybe, you
They're
know,
just not ready yet.
Yeah. They want to maintain some of that individuality for the time being. And that's okay.
Right. I feel like that's how I saw this, like sort of me moving out was like, I really love you. I love our relationship. And if things keep like progressing in the way that I think they're going to progress, like we'll get to live with each other for a long time. And I was like, why rush it?
Yeah.
We're 25.
Especially because you didn't want to move in together at this point in time.
Yeah.
And if you had forced yourself to do that to make me happy, then neither of us would have been happy. Because
Right.
I wouldn't be happy because you'd be angry and resentful.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't be happy because you would be angry and resentful. Like, you know.
Yeah, I think something that early on when I had maybe told you like the first time I was like, oh, like I want to do this and because I think you had brought up to me that you would like potentially be ready to like move in, and I was like, oh, I don't think I'm ready for this yet. You were like, that's like totally fine. Like I want to live with you when you want to live with me.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of like sex, frankly. Like
Consent is
you
sexy.
shouldn't. Yeah. You're not gonna want a normal person is not gonna want to fuck someone that doesn't want to be fucked.
Right.
And so like, you know, if you're not into it, I'm not into it either.
Yeah.
And same thing goes for this. I think like if you don't want to live with me, then I don't want to live with you. You know. It's like it's conditional, kind of, on
sure.
it being mutual.
Yeah. I think it's just been interesting because when people, like when I will say to people like, oh yeah, I'm living with like my friend, people are like, wait, why wouldn't you live with your partner? But I feel like I just feel so young. Like I'm 25. I feel so young. And I think for me, at least for me, moving in with somebody, and I think after also reading Meg J's book, The Defining Decade, like this really became apparent to me because I had always felt this inside. I was like, moving in seems like a really like big step to me, like the step before like an engagement. And so wait, my brain just like left me. So yes, I look at moving in with a partner kind of like as this like really big serious thing. And when I read Meg J's book, I felt like really what's that word? When you read something, I'm like reading it and I
inspired.
No, not inspired. Wow, my brain just literally brain farted so hard.
I mean, I think you're talking about doing it purposeful
right.
and intentionality.
But, I felt validated when that was the word, guys. I felt validated when I read her book because I have always felt these really strong feelings of like moving in with a partner is like a really big thing, and I wouldn't want to do it just because of like money reasons or whatever. And when I read Meg J's book, she said that as well. She was like, moving in with a partner is such an important decision, and it should be a conscious decision, not a convenient decision.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. I think it's really common in our current financial,
Sure.
as a mid-20s something, to want that like financial convenience.
Yeah.
And also like comfort. I think there's a lot of safety and security in feeling comfortable. And, you might think like, oh, my partner would be such a better roommate than some stranger. Like I'm a lot more comfortable with my partner than I would be to get a roommate that I'm not as comfortable with.
Right.
But sometimes that comfort isn't what you need for the relationship in itself.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. That was such an interesting part of her book where she kind of talked about like how a lot of it kind of like spirals into like, all right, we're moving in with each other, and it's not really this thought out decision, even if it's thought out in the ways of like, oh, like one of the pros of us living together is like, hey, money's tight right now, but when you're just kind of like going and doing it for the convenience, like you kind of get trapped there. And like all of a sudden like you're kind of staying in something that maybe isn't the best for you, but you live together, like
you probably own a bunch of stuff together. You probably bought your couch together, bought your bed together. Who's going to take what?
Right.
It gets messy. Your lives entangle.
Right.
That's hard.
Right. Like Meg J in the book had said, like a lot of these couples end in divorce because they weren't really intentional, and then have stayed in these things, and then they get married, and then it's like, oh wait, do I even like you? Yeah.
I mean, it's like a snowball effect and the inertia. Once you kind of take one step, you're like, oh, well, we might as well just go the whole mile.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Yeah. But that's the tea on me moving in, not with Olivia.
Yeah, I mean,
there's no tea, no shade.
There's really not, like, because I think I trust you and I'm comfortable and secure in our relationship at this point, and it doesn't have to happen right now. It's going to happen eventually. Like I'm not going anywhere, so it's going to happen eventually. I can be patient.
Yeah.
I can wait. I don't have a ton of money right now anyway. So splitting rent sounds hard for me.
Yeah. And we still see each other. I think like when I was like about to moving out, I do not respond well to change, everybody. That is like the tea about Sarah, is that I am not the best in situations where there's a bunch of change. I get like very irritable. I have a really hard time like regulating my emotions. So prior to me moving, like because I was looking all throughout October and whatnot, had a lot of discussions of like, we need to make sure that we realize like when I do move out, like our relationship is going to make a little alteration, and it's going to take some time to sort of figure out like how our new life is going to look.
Yeah. I mean, everything, moving is a hugely stressful and scary and intimidating process, and it takes time to get comfortable with something.
Yeah.
Especially because, we haven't really lived in this way before, where you're far away, but you're not that far away. I feel like we're either like hours and hours apart, or we're 15 minutes apart. And it's never really been, there's never been this type of barrier, where it's like, it's a little inconvenient, but it's not that inconvenient.
Yeah. Because it's nice because like you can come after work, you can come and just subway up to my apartment, or like this morning you picked me up and we drove back to Westchester, or like I can take an Uber back to Westchester. So that's definitely like an element. So I would definitely recommend like, whether you're moving out with a friend or with a partner, you should probably definitely talk about how your dynamic is going to change.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's a whole other conversation, and like how do relationships and dynamics change when the context or the, situation surrounding them changes.
Yeah.
Because, your relationships are a product of your environment. You're going to act in a way that fits the situation, if that makes sense. So, but I mean, I think, this kind of reminds me of like the compromise kind of conversation that we had the other day, and how it's a matter of finding a new balance. Yeah.
I feel like we've been good at that, because I think like, I mean, at this point last year, we were sort of struggling with how to compromise with each other,
Yeah. And I think, it's hard to compromise. It's hard to, give things up for the sake of the relationship, because we're, 20 something years old, we want to be selfish. There's that drive to be selfish.
Yeah.
And say like, I'm going to prioritize myself first and foremost.
Yeah.
And then sort of, I think part of getting older, growing up is like, oh, well, this person's important to me and I want to prioritize them too.
Yeah.
You're not going to throw yourself out the window, but you're going to, find a new balance.
Yeah, for sure.
Where, sure, maybe it's inconvenient to carry an overnight bag with me to work, but I'm still going to do it because I value you in this relationship and things like that, finding the new compromise.
Yeah. You said something, and let's pivot into this whole topic. Another reason I really wanted to have Olivia come back on the podcast was because one day we were having a conversation in the car, and I was like, wait, this would be so interesting to talk about. Something that I definitely struggled with in the second year of our relationship. And I think a lot of people, this is just something so common to be said in like your 20s, is like, this is your time to be selfish. You need to learn how to love yourself before somebody else can love you, or before you can love somebody else. Like, so I think like it's really interesting in your 20s. I feel like you kind of have like the two ends of the spectrum. You either have people that are getting married in their early 20s and starting to build a family, or it's like, or you should be at the opposite end, which is like you should be single, going out, mingling, focused on you, focused on your friends. And so sometimes as a person who's in a committed relationship but isn't ready for like marriage and kids yet, I feel like I was in this weird place. And I think a lot of people in books and things will be like, focus on you, be selfish, and da-da-da-da-da. But you have a lot of differing opinions on that.
I mean, I think, I'm not trying to say, oh, being selfish is bad. I think being selfish is important sometimes, because when being selfish looks like self-respect, maintaining boundaries, enforcing boundaries, prioritizing yourself, that's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
But, kind of, I guess I disagree with the idea that you have to be alone, as in not in a relationship, in order to work on yourself or develop yourself or respect your own boundaries or prioritize yourself. I just don't think that's true. Mm-hmm. Sure, maybe you can't prioritize yourself to the same extent that a single person could.
Sure.
But you, if you're in a relationship where you're completely deprioritizing yourself, that's not a good relationship. Like that's not a healthy dynamic to be in. So I guess I just disagree with, cutting off a relationship that you value in order to feel better. Yeah. Like it seems so counterintuitive.
I don't know. Like I feel like I always see like women in their 30s. Like I'm thinking of this specific clip from Melissa Woodhouse, who you probably do not know who she is, but she is like this very famous like fitness person, also like social media person. And I remember seeing a clip of her, and she was like, all 20 somethings, like you should be single, like you shouldn't be in a committed relationship. And I think I see those things, and like as somebody with anxiety, my anxiety starts to like go. And I'm like, oh my goodness, like, am I making the right decision? But sort of like you said, I was like, I don't want to give up a relationship I love because somebody is telling me that like the quote unquote right thing to do in your 20s is to be single and selfish.
I don't think that you should give up a relationship that matters to you, that feels good in the moment, just to, because you think you can't explore your own identity. I mean, you don't like cut off your friends to find yourself.
Right.
So why would you cut off a significant other or a romantic relationship? I think obviously unless it's like holding you back, which I don't think relationships do hold you back.
No, I mean, at least in our relationship, like I think in relationships in the past, I have been held back, or I've felt like the person did not support me whatsoever. Sure. But at least in our relationship, and I think in a healthy relationship, like that person supports you and supports you going after your endeavors, if that's what you have your focus on,
Yeah. I mean, I think a big part of what I love about our relationship is this idea of like being alone together. And
there is nothing I love more than being like alone together. Like I love when we're just like laying in one of our beds and you're playing your games and I'm scrolling on TikTok.
Yeah. And sure. Or even like more, quote unquote productive things like when we go back to your apartment tonight, like you've got work to do.
Yes, I do.
And like you can pursue your dream. You don't need to be entertaining me 24/7, and I don't need to be entertaining you 24/7.
No.
Like we can do our own things, and I think you can extend that, you can kind of expand that to the rest of the relationship, where like we don't need to be together 24/7. You have your friends, I have my friends. We can do things together, but we can also do things alone.
Yeah.
And we're still there. It's almost like attachment theory, like a secure base. When you have a secure base, which is when you're a child, is your parents, ideally. If you have a secure attachment, it's going to be your parent. And you can use that secure base to branch out and to explore the world because you trust that there's always going to be someone to fall back on.
Yeah.
If things get scary, you can run and hug your mom's leg and it'll be fine.
Oh.
And I think as we grow up and, obviously we're not going to run. Sometimes we will run and cry to our parents. But, I think part of romantic relationships are finding a new kind of anchor point or secure base, and using your partner as the secure base. So I'm going to go out and do my dream. I'm going to apply for this job. I'm going to do whatever. And I know you're going to be waiting at home.
Yeah.
Doing your own thing.
Yeah.
And just having someone to fall back on.
Yeah, I think it also makes it easier, especially like in our situation where we're not like living together, to know that like you can come over and like I can be like, hey, like I have to finish this thing for the podcast, and you're like, yeah, sure, do it. I think like thinking back to the relationships I was in like high school and early college, and sure we're like younger at this point, but I like will never forget those people not really like supporting my dreams. Like my first ex-boyfriend, he came to see me one of the high school shows and then just left, like didn't even say congrats.
Oh my God.
Like literally left, like
That's
saw
so
the show
rude.
and left. I was like,
I saw one of your high school shows.
which one?
Rent.
No,
And
that
Next
was
to
in
Normal.
middle school.
Next
babe.
to Normal.
No,
I saw Rent in middle school, and I saw Next to Normal in high school.
yeah, was I good?
Yeah, you were good. You're like the daughter, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is it? And everything else goes away. Superboy and the Invisible Girl.
Yes. Oh man.
She's not there. Guys, I saw this TikTok the other day and I showed it to Olivia because this is like the epitome of me. It was this guy being like that friend who sings in the middle of their sentences, and that is just like so me. I'll be like, hey, how are you doing?
Or it's like, sorry I'm late, I got in an accident.
Literally, it's that like,
oh,
do you want to go out to dinner? No, I have work to
do. And he did it exactly the same way that you do it, which like the same kind of like intonation. It was so funny. That was really a good video.
No, it's so fucking funny. Do we have anything else left to say on this topic? Oh, did we talk about like ways people can individuate while being in a relationship? I feel like we had written that down.
Yeah, no, we didn't really talk about that.
All right.
I don't know. I mean, this is something I tell you to do all the time. Hobbies are nice.
Olivia is telling me 24/7 to get hobbies because my hobbies are not good hobbies.
No, well, you have a habit of monetizing your hobbies.
I do.
And that can suck the joy out of them.
Yeah.
Like we were talking about this earlier today. Like when you're a kid, you have all these extracurriculars and you're doing them for fun, for no other reason than for fun.
Right.
You're like doing theater, you're doing a voice lesson, you're playing a sport, you're what else do children do? I don't know.
Art
class. Sure.
Class,
you're going to
gymnastics.
Yeah, whatever you like to do as a kid. And then you grow up and you either turn it into a career and then feel miserable about it,
or you let it go.
Or you let it go.
Yeah.
And why does it have to be like that?
Yeah.
Like,
basically, for some context, you guys, so I took a voice lesson on yesterday, and honestly, I get so anxious leading up to my voice lessons now, which is so crazy for me because like they were so normal. But I think going to college for my BFA, like I got so used to like this is going to be graded, da 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 da. And I love my college voice teacher, but still, like I think I put so much pressure on myself. So now, you know, I want to keep up with my voice. And so I like to do a lesson every now and again. And so I took one, but I was so fucking nervous for this lesson. And we were just saying how like, you know, when I was younger, I used to take a voice lesson once a week, literally in this room. And it was just like my hour to be a karaoke star. And I would like have my voice teacher, she would play the piano and I would sing.
Yeah. And it was fun. It was something you enjoyed doing. It wasn't a source of stress or anxiety, or it didn't hold all this pressure of like, I need to do this or I'm not going to get a job. Like, or I'm not, you know, it was just something fun to do. And I think as adults, people lose hobbies.
Yeah.
It's very easy because life is very busy.
Yeah.
And hard.
That's the thing is when you're like, Sarah, you should have a hobby. And I'm like, when does Sarah have time for a hobby?
You scroll on your phone for like an hour and a half to 2 hours a night.
That is
minimum.
But it's so much.
You could take half an hour of that 2 hour time and do something else.
Okay.
Scrapbook.
I know. I love it.
I don't know. Paint by number. Do a little dance in your room. I don't know. You can do literally anything. And it doesn't, you don't need to film it. You don't need to tell anyone. Like, you can throw it away when you're done.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a matter of doing it.
Yeah.
For no other reason than like, because you like doing it.
Yeah. Okay, you guys, we had a little technical issue. Again, Audrey, I need you, girly. Homegirl is struggling without you. I was like, Olivia, we should just stop recording. I am a mess. But we're gonna charge through and hopefully maybe this will see the light of day if I don't hate it.
Let's see.
I get judgmental of myself. I think it's hard not to be sometimes, you know?
I get that. You just want to produce a high quality product.
Right. I want you guys to be like, damn, girl, damn. So, but we're actually going to move into chatting about something else now because this was like, I think the most interesting conversation that we had the other day. And it was actually suggested by the network for us to chat about. And it's this idea of like friends at different stages in terms of romantic relationships. So a lot of my close friends are all single. Your close friends, you guys are all in relationships.
Mostly, yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much everyone.
Right. And that breeds a lot of different dynamics.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And so I think the question I asked you the other day that like really sparked an interesting discussion was like, you know, Olivia is pretty close with my friends. Mm-hmm. You hang out with us pretty often.
Yeah.
I feel pretty comfortable with you around my friends. But I was like, if you had a penis attached to your body, would that be different?
Yeah. I mean, I can talk about sex and gender all day.
Yeah.
I think it's, it's such an interesting kind of topic.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think, I think there's this stereotype that men can't be friends with women.
Yes.
And women can't be friends with men.
Yeah.
Which is sexist and incorrect, but what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think if we were in a heterosexual relationship and I was kind of socialized and male,
yeah, I think things would be different.
You would feel different. I would feel different.
Yeah.
I mean, and we talked about this the other day. Like, I'm still a little like, like I don't want to be seen as one of the girls,
right?
And not that I think you treat me that way, but and yeah, I think I think men can feel very threatened by being perceived as feminine or one of the girls.
Yeah. Well, even I feel like if you did have a penis attached to your body and socialized male, I feel like I wouldn't feel maybe as comfortable including you in some of the things or even just like thinking about like, let's say I'm like away and you hang out with my friends without me. Like I'm still now, I think I would feel a little uncomfortable.
I feel like that would be...
I would be ultra uncomfortable.
Right. Yeah, I feel like that would be crossing a line in our current dynamic. Personally, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
because I would feel like that's crossing a line.
Yeah.
But
I agree. I think the whole concept of men can't be friends with women is like such a huge thing, and it really does impact, I think, heterosexual couples and their like relationships with friends.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I think like, I don't think I would have the same relationship with Liz or with Audrey.
Yeah.
I think, I would, because I think it would be threatening to you. I think you would
100%.
experience, you would feel jealous.
Let's
you would
be
feel
real.
distrusting. Like,
guys, I'm going to be real on the podcast right now. I do sometimes get
you
a
are
little
kind of jealous.
or I'm just like, why are you texting? Like, not in a
Liz texted me at the Renee Rapp concert more than you texted me.
I was singing. I was living my life. I know. And the next day we talked about it and I was like, oh yeah, I didn't care. You were talking about me.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, I think there are certain lines that I'm not, as I am, in our current relationship, I'm not comfortable crossing.
Sure.
Because it's, it's weird.
Yeah. It's interesting, like, because you didn't know any of my friends, obviously, before we started dating, and my friends, thank God, really like you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think something that I always say is your superpower and is so incredibly amazing about you is you are able to listen to people. I think I think listening is something that most people don't do. I don't do it a lot. And I think you are such a great conversationalist because when somebody is talking to you, they feel heard. And so I think you're just a very smart person in general. And you have a lot of knowledge in the whole like mental health sphere and like everything. And so I think my friends can confide in you, and I love that. And then sometimes though, I'm like, are these boundaries being like pushed? Like, should a friend of mine feel comfortable laying out their trauma to you at a bar, which could say something about the other person? Or like, should I be stepping in and being like, hey, this isn't an appropriate time to do this?
I mean, I don't think, is there ever an appropriate time to do that? Though?
No.
Like, I mean, I don't think
but
it's
I'm more
really
thinking like you're off the clock. We're at a bar. Maybe, at my apartment, you'd still be off the clock.
right. But it's not like, I don't think that that's threatening to our relationship.
Oh, no. This is just a random thought coming into my head.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's funny. And I enjoy talking about kind of deep things.
You do. You're a deep conversationalist.
I enjoy it. I think it's fun.
As you guys found out on the last episode what that leads to.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fun. I think
you're turning
Shut up. You outed me about that, but whatever. Yeah.
I've thrown Olivia off
flustered now. A little flustered.
No, but basically, like you were talking about, like fragile masculinity, men. Look these notes, guys. Fragile masculinity, men equal horn dogs.
I mean, I think that's the stereotype, right? Is
right,
like a man can't you can't bring your boyfriend around your friends because he's gonna cheat on you, and he's gonna screw one of your friends. And that's like that. That's not inherently true of all men or of all people. And I would even argue that like a girl might screw your friends. A lesbian's going to screw your friends too. Like,
totally. Guys, the other day, Olivia got a new work employee at their office and they happened to be gay. And I was like, do not fall in love with this person. They're married.
Like she's married. And like older than me. And like has a whole house.
Okay.
Like,
I do think I have a little bit more of a jealous spirit in me than you do.
You do. I mean, I can get jealous for sure, but yeah, I think you're very I don't know, possessive, protective.
Not in a bad way.
No.
Okay, good.
Not in a bad way. But it's funny. I mean, but it's kind of like, especially when we've been drinking, I think you can get like very kind of, I don't know.
Well, I think it's when you're drinking, like you just feel like anything could be flirty or like, I don't know.
Right.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't bring out like the best side of me. And I think it like, yeah, I do. I definitely do get a little jealous. I feel like that's just like kind of who I am. But I think it's playful jealousy, not like real, like
Sure.
you can't hang out with this person, because I have been a part of a relationship like that, and that is just absolutely fucking miserable.
Yeah. I understand that.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
never
yeah.
feel like, I don't think it's ever really an argument that we have.
No,
it's
no,
more
no,
just
no.
like, kind
Yeah.
of a,
But going back to like friends and stuff, at least with my friends, because you are so beloved by them, I feel like it's been pretty easy for me to balance my friendships and my relationship. I actually think this week was the first time where I was like, oh shit, like maybe this will be hard, because, between work and podcasts, my friends, like I wasn't able to like go hang out with my friends the other night. They were at a bar, and I was like, a part of me like felt FOMO because I wasn't there, but also I was like, but I don't want to be there, but I'm still feeling FOMO, So sometimes I think it's like hard to balance it all. But I try to be like as transparent as I can with people. Like I literally told my friends, I was like, hey, like I can't come tonight because I want to like hang out with Olivia.
yeah.
And they weren't like nasty about it. They were like, period, as you should.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, I think we're comfortable enough that if you had wanted to go out, and I didn't really want to go out either, so I wasn't like pushing for it, but we could have done that, and I get along very well with your friends,
Yeah.
and like it wouldn't have been an issue.
Yeah.
But I think in heterosexual relationships, it can be an issue. It's like, why do you want to hang out with my friends?
Right.
Like,
And I think that's another part. Let's bring it back for full circle. I think that's another important part of individuating is like having your partner have time with their friends.
Sure.
Like, I think that's like really important. And sometimes I'm like, do I need to do a better job at like just me being with my friends? Because I think they like you so much that they're like, sure, Olivia can come along. And I think I feel comfortable having you come along. And then sometimes I'm like, oh shit, like again, like if you had a penis, would they be getting mad at me because it would be like, oh my God, she's bringing her boyfriend again?
Yeah. Probably.
Yeah.
I feel
because
like,
I think about like conversations I've had with my friends about like people in the past, and it was like, oh my God, she's always with her boyfriend. And I mean, maybe my friends say this about me behind my back, but like,
but I think it's different, and I think it's just not that it is actually different, but I think people perceive it differently because there's an inherent. I don't pass, so there's an inherent like you're gonna gender me in your brain whether you want to or not.
Yeah.
And you're going to see me different than a cis male, and that's just the fact of life.
Yeah.
And
this is a change. Sorry, no. Finish your sentence.
Well, I mean that you treat female people differently than you treat male people.
Yeah.
We all do it. Like
no matter how hard we try not to.
That we've been raised to do that, and it's very, very difficult not to. It's possible, but it's almost like anti-racism kind of. It's like this constant being aware and active working on dismantling implicit bias, recognizing, dismantling, and like changing implicit bias.
Yeah.
Because that's what it is. It's implicit. Like you don't even realize
that you're doing it.
You're doing it.
Right. Yeah. What I was going to ask you was, how do you feel like you and your friendships navigate? I mean, sure, you have a different element that like, because your college friends are all over the country, you guys mainly like talk through Discord, but like all your friends are in relationships.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like with some of my friends, I get along. All of my friends whose partners or significant others I know, I get along with them very well.
Yeah.
Like I remember when one of my friends started dating someone else who I've never met them in person before, but like they joined our group chat.
Yeah,
and I get
a part of the group chat.
I get along with him very, very well. He's super nice. He's cool.
Yeah.
I've never met him, but
yeah,
and I wouldn't like text him, or like one-on-one conversation is not going to happen. But
do you guys talk about your relationships with each other a lot? I feel like no, because I feel like I ask you this and about your friends, and you're
not
like,
really. I mean, sometimes we will, if there's something like big or important going on. Like, one of my friends was considering getting married for insurance purposes, and we talked a lot about that.
Yeah.
Because it's a big thing. And
Yeah.
and she wanted advice and opinions, and she wanted help kind of figuring out what to do. They're not getting married. She's paying for her own insurance.
And again, think about it. If we go back to the whole Meg J thing, full circle, would that be a marriage out of convenience?
Exactly, and it would have.
And
been.
it would have.
Literally would
Like,
have been
yeah.
a complete convenience.
And not saying like they wouldn't want that one day.
Sure.
But like it
but they're
makes
not
it
ready
risky.
for it. They're not ready for
Right,
it.
right.
Yeah.
Like if I were in her position and I was like, I need insurance, and you were like, all right, we could get married, like I would be scared to death. Like it's
Yeah.
like how I think of moving in sometimes. I'm like, I'm just like not ready for that. Like that's really scary.
It's scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they do live together. So like
Yes.
obviously they're happy to take that step.
Right.
But I get it. I mean, marriage is a big thing, and that's literally the only reason you would be getting married.
Then
at this
that's
point, then
right.
don't you shouldn't be getting married.
100%.
Unfortunately, I mean, it means she has to pay for her own insurance,
Right,
but
which sucks.
which
but
does
I think
suck,
in the
but
end,
today's her birthday, actually.
oh my God,
So-
happy birthday to this person. I'm not going to say their name.
Rest in peace, your insurance.
Rest in peace, your insurance. But I do think that like that's a good decision because
I think so too.
I feel like getting married because like you want like, and I get it.
Right, it's a convenience.
It's a
thing
convenience
instead of an
thing.
intention.
Right,
thing.
right.
Um,
Guys, we're just going full circle. All these things are full
they're all connected.
circle.
Everything's connected.
Everything is connected.
Yeah, but no, I mean, we don't talk about our relationships that frequently, unless
Yeah.
it's like something important, or like relevant or important to talk about.
Yeah.
Like another one of my friends just became polyamorous and started dating
Yes,
a second
yes,
person.
yes.
A lot of my friends are poly. Everyone is freaking poly.
I told Olivia if you ever come home one day and suggest that we become poly, I will be very upset.
I'm not into that though. But
Right.
a lot of my friends are, and
Right.
like,
And that is their preference. No tea, no shade. I just, guys, I literally admitted to you on this podcast that I'm a little bit of a jealous person. Like, I just don't think I would be able to handle
no, I don't
it.
think you would. I don't think you would.
Because no.
I don't think I can handle it
don't
either.
think you could
no,
handle
I don't think
it
I would
either.
I think I would feel really sad.
Yeah.
I think it would hurt my feelings.
Yeah, I don't think you
And
could handle it.
I don't think I could handle
you
it.
love me.
I do.
Aw, love you too. But yeah, I don't feel like I'm trying to think like about like friend dynamics.
Because you talk about me a lot with your friends, don't you?
I talk about you all the time.
Yeah.
Is that a bad
No,
thing?
I mean, I just think it's funny.
I do. I mean, you're such a
I'll
huge part of
mention you,
my
but I don't talk
life.
to you.
You're just like, I don't know, you're such a huge part of my life. And I think you've also become a big part of my friend's
Sure.
life. I think with your friends, it's a little
Yeah,
different.
they're all over the place.
They're all over the place. I have barely met them.
Yeah.
And I also think that we went to one of Olivia's friends recently, and I felt like finally I was starting to like let my guard down.
Right.
Like I feel like the first time I
We've
met,
only met them like 2-3 times now.
yes,
This
yes.
is the third time.
With the friend that was going to get married for insurance, I have met her now. Like this is my
3
third
times,
time. And I'm
yeah.
like, finally, like I feel like I'm making my way in a bit. Because I think, you are different than me. Your friends are
Sure.
different than me. And I think I get really nervous about that. And I was like, and I remember the first time I met them, I was just like, I had a couple drinks. I felt like so weird. I was like, why am I not like, I don't know. I can get pretty shy, which is like interesting.
You're slow to warm up. I am too. But
Yeah.
I think we're both, it takes time to open up around people.
And I think also knowing that I like to different things and whatever, I was like, oh
Sure.
fuck, like I don't know how to like relate and da.
Sure.
And I think it was important to me, like you want your partner's friends to like you. But yeah, I think with my friends, I do talk about you a lot because you're such a big part of my life, and I feel like you've become a relatively, part of like my closer friends' lives as well, because you're at so many of the things and they tell you things, and so you know things about their personal lives.
Yeah, I mean, I also like to pry and
Yeah,
dig deep
Olivia is yes, yes.
I'm nosy.
You are. You ask
Yeah,
the hard
I'm very
hitting
nosy.
questions.
Yeah, I do.
You do. You ask.
Pisses people off sometimes.
I
but,
know.
like I do.
Yes. Yeah. It all comes from love, though. It's never in this
absolutely,
like
yeah.
let me gossip or
No, not at
like make
all.
you feel bad. It's your therapist
No.
in you.
Yeah, I mean, I just I think if I were in that position, I would want someone to kind of call me on my bullshit sometimes.
Yeah.
I think that's like, that's what I look for in a therapist.
Yeah, that's something I feel like I need in a therapist.
Yeah.
One of my friends was just telling me how she got a new therapist and how she's really loving it because this therapist, so she was like, oh, she sent me this like worksheet to read and I didn't read it. And so the therapist followed up, did you read this? And she was like, no, I didn't. She was like, you need to read this, like read it. And she was like, oh, okay, shit. Like,
Yeah, one of the first therapists I had, this is totally different, but she was at my school, and I took such advantage of her because she was too sweet and nice, and I would like feign sadness, and she would take me to Petco, and we would look at the puppies together, and I'd skip class, and I would do that all the time.
Holy shit.
This was a therapeutic school, so like we had a therapist in school, and so I would go to her like, I'm so sad. Can we see the puppies? And we would go, and I would miss like half a day of school to look at puppies at Petco.
Oh my God.
And go to Starbucks. Like,
that's iconic.
And then that was the first year I was at that school, and then she left.
Okay.
And I got another therapist.
And this therapist was the opposite.
She was the opposite, and that's what I needed.
Yeah.
And that's
I feel
what
like
I needed.
a lot of people
I
need
needed
that.
someone to say like, stop bullshitting me. Like, you're lying to my face right now. Sit down and like, because that's what I was kind of a bitch in high school.
Yeah. No, I feel like a lot of people need that. I feel like it's really hard to hold yourself accountable sometimes and to be honest with yourself. So yeah, you do.
So I think I try to do that for other people.
Yeah.
Not as a therapist, but like as a friend or a person that knows them and cares about them. I'm like, sometimes you need to think about this stuff.
No, and I think that's a really like nice thing of you to do, because I think in friendships it can be really like when somebody's like, oh, does this look good on me?
Right.
It could be really hard to be like, no, that looks fucking ugly.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, there's a nicer way to say that.
Sure. But I think it can be really hard to be brutally honest.
Sure.
I know I have struggled with that. Like, it's hard.
I think there's a difference between being
brutally
honest and like cruel.
Right.
I think you can be honest in a way that is supportive and like loving.
Yeah.
So like with the dress or an outfit, if you don't think it's nice, you can be like, I don't know, I liked this other one on you.
Yeah.
Like the one you wore last night, that was so pretty. You should wear that again.
Yeah.
Not last night, but
Yeah.
Or some sort of like, more.
I feel like if I'm
like
thinking,
build someone up, don't tear them down.
If I'm thinking about clothes, like there's been times where like I'm like, does this look good? And you're like, oh, like I think like I like this better on you. Da 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 da.
Yeah, I mean, because I with you and with everyone, I care about them. Like I love you. I care about you. I want you to feel good. I'm not gonna like lie to your face for convenience.
Sure.
Like
yeah,
because that's just gonna build up. And then what if it slips? What if I'm like talking to another friend and they say like, oh my God, isn't her outfit so ugly? And I'm like, yeah. And then it comes back around and then I'm the asshole.
Yeah.
And that's not, I lied enough in my teenage years.
Yeah.
I'm done lying.
Yeah. That's one of the biggest lessons you've taught about, like kind of taught to me is like, because I have so much trouble with confrontation, which we don't need to get into as we near the end of this episode. But I feel like you've really taught me, like, is it worse to, like, think about it? Is it worse to, like, say, hey, like, I don't want to go out tonight versus, oh, like making up some excuse as to why you can't go out. And like, what if that person figures out that you did go out eventually or like whatever? Like, I feel like you've just taught me that it's better to just kind of show up with honesty and look, maybe that person feels disappointed with your honesty, but at least you were honest versus like the lying.
Yeah. I think, telling the truth, being honest with someone, it might hurt their feelings. They might feel bad, but if they catch you in a lie, that's going to hurt so much more.
So much worse.
That's going to hurt 10 times more worse, and it's going to put a strain on your relationship.
Yeah.
Whereas honesty, it might make things a little uncomfortable for a second, but I think for the most part, people are going to be grateful for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's just my take on honesty and lying. I lied enough. I was like, literally, when I was in high school, every word out of my mouth was a lie.
Oh, babe.
But I was like severely mentally ill.
And that's on mental health. Okay, you guys, we are nearing the end of this episode. We made it to the end. Lots of technical difficulties.
Yeah, really.
But we did it. We did it. Proud of us. And of course, like the sun is setting and it's 3:35.
We have Target,
Home Depot,
the grocery
Target,
store.
and the
And
grocery store, and Olivia's house. I was like, yeah, Liz, we'll be home around 5. Wrong. Thank you guys so much for listening to today's episode. We hope you enjoyed. Please go follow us on Instagram at Completely Fucking Clueless and on TikTok
at Completely FCKING Clueless.
Great job, babe. This is how you know they listen every week. Yes, rate, review, subscribe, follow, all of the things. And we'll see you guys next Tuesday with a new episode. We hope you have an amazing Tuesday this Tuesday. Oh, and a happy Thanksgiving to anybody who celebrates, because this will come out before. No, false, guys. It's coming out after.
You will not see them next week.
I hope you had a fabulous Thanksgiving. Wow, my brain is not here. Anyways, let me shut up and end this. Have an amazing Tuesday, guys. Have an amazing week. And don't forget to be motherfucking clueless. I don't think that's where the music kicks in. This is from Mommy.
This has been a 58 Ember production. For more shows, please visit the 58 Ember channel, 58ember.com, or find us at 58 Ember Media on socials.